Vinny, should I meet you at Belmont or is it Aqueduct this weekend? Doubling down with Colin and Vinny is back, and we are going to which track, Vinny?
It's Aqueduct, and I understand the marketing, but I hate it.
I do too.
I hate it. Hate it. I've been ranting to my buddies all week about it. I personally just think I get it because Belmont definitely brings in a bigger handle than Aqueduct does. But man, I think it's just stupid. I have no nice things to say.
I don't really either, and I kind of didn't realize it. You're so focused on Saratoga until Saratoga's over, right? And now, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's like, why don't we just stay at Saratoga?
Right? Oh, I would love that personally. I don't know if the town could handle it, but yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's Aqueduct. It's not, like are we gonna call every meet like Belmont somewhere else from now on, or are we like, I don't know. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I understand it though from a marketing perspective from Naira because Belmont definitely brings in more handle than Aqueduct does, but it's Aqueduct.
Why are they doing this, Vinny?
They're doing construction on Belmont. Hopefully it will be ready early 2023 for that meet. That's the goal, but they're doing construction on Belmont, so it's closed currently. But yeah, that's the gist of it. It's Aqueduct. It's the same horses that would normally run at Aqueduct anyway. It's Aqueduct. Yeah. Walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck.
It's Aqueduct.
Yeah.
And it's important to note, though, what they're doing at Belmont is pretty cool, right? They're building the tunnels under the track to open up the infield, which is obviously going to be a huge draw. If you look at something like the Preakness, that's the main draw, right? So that's the big renovation that's occurring.
Yep. They're adding the tunnel. It should be good. My big issue is that, like, outside of Belmont Stakes Day, there's not really a ton of attendance there. So I'm curious to see their marketing plan to get more people there. They did just add the arena next door, so I'm sure they will be doing coupling with concerts and events. But yeah, we'll see. Kind of excited for it to happen. I think this will probably be the last year of Aqueduct, if I'm being honest. But that's besides the point.
So maybe that's why they're transitioning the name. It's Belmont at Aqueduct, so that it eventually just becomes Belmont.
Right.
Totally. So we're back with doubling down as we've done in the past. We're focusing on some daily doubles, and before we move on to what we're looking at this weekend, it's always good to take a step back and look how we made out last weekend. And I was very happy at the results of last weekend, where we have a little standings board. If you've been following the show and focusing on our doubles, we're both in the green. Neither of those numbers are red, and that's where we want to be, right, Vinny?
Yep, that's where we want to be. Yeah, last weekend you had the bomb and race. You had a bomb in the second leg.
My boy Bran.
Yeah, Bran won. My single won in the opening leg that you also had, so that was good. That was good. You definitely cleaned up at Kentucky Downs. That was a very good double there. What, paid about 45, a little over 45 to 1?
Yeah, 48 to 1. And the good thing about this show is I believe I added that horse that I don't know that I remember if I had him. You were singling him, so it was kind of like, hey,
yep.
Listening to you, I said, why not put him on there? And then the second leg, I had 7 and 8. 7 was Gregorian Chant, who was my higher opinion in that race. Obviously, we do this show on Wednesday or Thursday, so you don't know that Saturday when your horse scratches, and all of a sudden I'm singled to Bran, who I think went off at 11 to 1 and paid $22, and the double came through. So what we want to do here is give you small bets, right? What was our doubles are between $4 and $10, so we're not giving out these huge tickets, and ideally we can keep up this hot streak. And so what if it's a profit? It's a profit. If you're just paying $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, and these are based on the $1 base bet. So we had to do a little flex in there of the muscle and put it in the big numbers because it's nice to see that $56 profit. And I'm expecting Vinny to get that 280 up this weekend.
Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see. It seems like I have a habit of hitting one leg and missing the next leg. I wasn't even close on that that second Kentucky Downs leg. I don't think either horse I used, I don't think moved at all. But I guess the positive is that we both went against, I forget the favorite's name there, the Wesley Ward horse who finished third. And you went off a heavy favorite. So, I mean, we did go against the favorite. You picked the right long shots. I did not. So,
But I think
overall, I think we did good.
yeah, and I think we've taken the right strategies in these, right? It's like if you have a heavy favorite, you got to single the horse, and if you don't put him in your ticket, and you try to find a price, and we've done a pretty good job of that between the two of us. And I think today is the first day on our show that we will both agree on a single in one of the legs. So hopefully we can get that price in the first leg this time. And I think we have a short price in the second leg. So what we're doing is we're going to race 8 and race 9 at Belmont. Oh no, it's Belmont at Aqueduct. I guess I have to say that every time. One gripe that I have is that I use Brisnet, and in the past performances where they show you the horse's previous success at a certain track on the top right corner, all of the BAQs are all zeros across the board. So even though these horses have run at Aqueduct, they've made me do an extra step of now needing to go through and figure out how has this horse performed at Aqueduct. So I'm not happy about that. So we'll leave it at that. We'll stop crapping on Belmont and Aqueduct enough. So the first leg we're looking at is race 8 on Saturday. It is 6 furlongs on the outer turf, an allowance race. Race 8 on Saturday. Where'd you end up here?
Oh, well, my initial reaction to this race was that I've been waiting for King Angelo to run back for basically since he ran at Belmont or ran at Saratoga at the end of July. He was entered a couple times in at Saratoga. Unfortunately, the end of the meet there was rain, so he scratched. He didn't end up running. So I've been waiting for him to run back. He draws the rail here. I like it. He was initially going to be a single, but because of the second leg, I am going to spread a little bit here, just in case there is other speed in here. But King Angelo is kind of the horse I was really looking at here. How about you?
Yeah, good choice. And one thing we talked about last week is I don't remember which horse it was, but there was a horse that was like 17 for 18 in the money. You got another horse here, King Angelo, who's 9 for 10 out of the money. So even if you're not going to use him in your ticket, someone that if you're playing exactas, tries, or supers, a horse that you probably definitely do not want to leave off. I had a tough time here. I kind of bounced around, and I know this isn't Kentucky Downs, but I'm relying on this cutback of distance, which I love so much. And the two that I kind of started to hone in on was certainly the 7, Carpe's Dream. I think that the cutback is going to be positive for this horse. My negative is that he's only beaten maidens, so the experience there isn't as great as that you'd like to see. The speed figures are also a little light, so it's a little bit of a tepid choice here. I do like the 12-1 morning line on this 7, Carpe's Dream. The course has run at a mile and a 16th and a mile on the turf, and in the stretch was in first place in his last 2 races. Now he's cutting back to 6 furlongs. I'm hoping that early speed is going to be an advantage for this horse. And the other one that I looked at was the 9, Clickatat, who has run very well off layoffs. He has a layoff here. It's first off the claim for Linda Rice, another horse that at the longer distances has shown the ability to be in the front coming down the stretch, has held on a couple times, also has not. I'm hoping that this cutback here as well, back to 6 furlongs, is an advantage for both of these two, who are both at 5-1 and 12-1. So taking a little bit of a shot here. Were either of those of interest to you?
They weren't. If I had to use one, I would definitely use Carpe's Dream over using the 9, Clickatat. My big issue with the 9 is that Linda claimed him off of Michael Maker last time out. Maker is kind of like Sappy Joseph to me. I don't touch horses first off the claim for Maker. It's just something I won't do. If they win, they win. Usually they come back down to earth right out of the Maker's barn. So that's a horse I'm not going to use. The other horses I actually was going to end up using was the first one is the number 3 Outlaw Kid for George Weaver. Gets a jockey change to Castellano from Franco. But horse broke his maiden at the end of the Saratoga meet, and it was a 5.5, so he's getting the extra half furlong. But he did rate that day, which with a lot of early speed in this race, because there is a ton of early speed, and there's not a lot of early speed in my opinion that likes that prefers to rate. I think a lot of these horses seem to need the lead types, or they just fall apart. I think this horse second start of his 3-year-old year could improve, and the speed figure last time wasn't super terrible compared to the rest of the field. He got an 83 buyer, which is actually the same as Phantom Smoke, who's 7-2 on the morning line. So he ran the same figure second time out. Should improve in his third career start. He was another one I was looking at. And then I was going to go to the second time starter for Todd Pletcher, Gianni Lambo with Irad jumping on. Horse hasn't run since October of last year. Coming in off the layoff, he's a 3-year-old. He gets Lasix for the first time, but does get Irad. And I thought it was interesting that Irad was the jockey in Phantom Smoke's last 3 races, and now he jumps off to ride a horse that just has a maiden win here. So I kind of think that maybe that horse is a little live, and he's 8-1 on the morning line. I doubt we get anywhere near 8-1 because Irad's on him. But those were kind of the ones I was going to. Those were the 3 main ones I was going to key in on, and then I think I'll let you talk about the 5.
Yeah, and we agreed exact same reasons for that 8. I also highlighted that the 8 is sired by American Pharaoh, who American Pharaoh, in my opinion, has done really well with horses on the turf. And you did talk about that early speed, and that was one thing that I wanted to point out that I didn't when I talked about Clickatat. Using the Brisnet speed figures, the running style, there's only 2 with a P designated as their style, and that is Clickatat and the 5 Maritime Wings. And I'll admit it, I have a cottage up in Nova Scotia. I have connections up to the Maritimes, so there's a little bit of a connection on a name there, and I would hate to see a horse with a name like that beats me, but I have more reasons than just that, and that is that you're getting Pletcher and Velasquez at 10-1. Second off the claim with Pletcher, which is very attractive to me. I like to see that the speed figures improved over the last 2 races with this horse. Going by Brisnet, they're still light on the par. But I'm hoping that with that early speed, the Maritime Wings with very good connections can be a horse that comes from off the pace and closes to get up for this race. So that's where I landed on this one. I went 5, 7, 8, and 9.
Yep, and I actually do like the 5 a little bit. It's the other Pletcher here. I like when trainers enter too. I hate to get beat by the higher odds one. This one actually has it. I know this race is 6, but this horse's races last year in Ireland at 7 furlongs. He won his maiden, and then he was second in a grade 3 and second in a grade 2, both to the same horse that he came in second to. So, and then they stretched him back out to a mile. He didn't run great. He ran at 7 furlongs in his North American debut here, but he ran into Big Invasion, who is just a monster. So, I can't fault him for not running good against Big Invasion. And then, then last time at Saratoga, they ran him at a mile. Pletcher ran him at a mile, and he didn't run great at a mile in Ireland. He didn't run great at a mile here. So I definitely think the shorter distance might help. I don't know if this is going to be too short, though. This might be one of those weird horses that, he floats around, and when they run these 7 furlong the turf races, he'll get wins. But if they don't run these 7, when they run 6 and a mile, when they have to run 6 or a mile, he might just be one to eventually stay away from. But at 10-1 here, I'm going to take the shot on the slight cutback as well.
And I did like the fact that in the stretch and then the second call, this horse was close. It wasn't like he was way behind in that mile race. So I always have a tough time judging that first race when they're coming from overseas and coming back. It's kind of like, granted it was September to May, so it's not like it was a quick turnaround running overseas and then coming across. But first time over here, I always tend to just toss, and that's usually what bites me when they win first time here because I usually don't have them on my ticket. But hopefully third time and second time with Pletcher is the reasons that Maritime Wings can get up. The price is nice, and like I said, being from the Maritimes, I can't let the horse beat me for that reason. So we're pretty similar. We both have a chance here with the 5 and the 8 in race 8.
Yep.
So the second leg of the double is the one that we have agreed upon where we may run into a single. That is race 9 on Saturday, September 17th at Belmont at Aqueduct, as we love to say. And we were talking before the show, and I said, what do we do with Expressman? And you immediately talked pretty glowingly about this horse. So why don't you let us know why you've convinced me to single this horse?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those horses that for multi-race ticket purposes, unless for some reason you are very skinny in other legs, that he's gonna. This horse is 2 to 5 on the morning line. He's probably gonna go off or that or shorter. I can't imagine this horse drifts up. That there's just no value using multiple horses in the especially in a double. There's no value using this horse and another horse in this leg in a double. You either take the stand with him or you take the stand against him. But his maiden race at Saratoga in the middle of August was just very impressive. Went gate to wire and he drew off. And I guess the one negative on him is that the horses he ran and who he beat badly, the second to last place finisher came back and he got a 7 buyer in a claiming race. But I mean, this horse got 107 buyer on debut, looked phenomenal. I mean, he was part of an entry that day. His stablemate finished second at 7 lengths behind him. His stablemate actually finished pretty far in front of the third place finisher too. But this horse set good fraction. 22:45. If he does that again today, I don't know who's going. There's other horses who have shown that they can run those fractions, but second time out, you probably won't see another 107 buyer. But if this horse is for real, you're probably going to see a high 90 buyer at least today, and that is more than good enough to win here. As most of basically the rest of the field has really struggled to even get above an 80. I think the 5 in his maiden win had a 91 for Chad Brown, has never come anywhere near that 91 again. A couple mid 80s for some of these other horses. But yeah, it's gonna be if he regresses to a 90, a mid 90 buyer, he should run all over this field.
It's important to note that graphic I just put up was created before the coupled entry had been properly associated. So when you said the 5, I do believe you were referring to Nabokov.
Oh, yep. Sorry.
No, that's okay, but my graphic was a little bit off. So just to note that we are both high on the 7 Expressmen. As you said, I used Brisnet speed figures. He had a 105 in his first race, and that is just well above and beyond what anybody has done recently. The 1 Ryan's Cat has some backclass where he put up a couple hundred Brisnet numbers back in March of last year. So that was a while ago. He struggled to even come close to that in recent attempts. The one horse that is interesting, right? So if you're going to take a shot, like you had said, which I totally agree, especially on a double ticket, either you go heavy in the leg before with spreading a little bit, using some of the longer shots, which we both did, and then singling Expressman. Or maybe if you have a strong opinion in the previous leg, you put something down like a $10 double to the one that you like in Expressman. But if you are going to take a shot somewhere else, the one horse that I had looked at pretty closely was Mac Killop, the 2. Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt, 3 races on the turf, and now they're switching into the dirt. The 3 races on the turf were continual improvements. So it's curious to me now that the win was at Tampa and it made him 30,000, and now he's stepping up to an allowance 105,000 after trying optional claimers, which he wasn't in for a claim on in those 2 races. Finished up 4th and the 2nd. I'm just curious about the switch to the dirt here, and seeing the improvement that the horse had shown on the turf has me a little bit intrigued, especially with the Chad Brown connection. And using the Brisnet Prime Power numbers, there's not as big of a difference as you'd see in a horse that they'd have as 2 to 5. So Brisnet has at the bottom of their past performances something called Prime Power, and they designate a number to that. And usually when you get 2 to 5s, that you're going to single, someone like a 2 to 5, you generally want to see 10 points or higher difference in that prime power. At least I do. So if this horse has 150, I'd like to see the second horse with 140. In this race, Expressman's 139 and McKillop is 131.5. So it just made me wonder and double question myself on, is it really that big of a difference between the two? But I think, as you said, from what you saw in your eye test, and you kind of convinced me pretty quickly, like, I think Expressman is the way to go. If I'm going to get beat, my guess would be it's this 2. What do you think? Is that kind of the one you're nervous about, or not at all?
Not really, honestly. I actually think it's a huge red flag that this horse is entered here. Like you said, horse had improved in all 3 turf starts, and I honestly think it's a big red flag, especially since the next race is the Jockey Club Derby Invitational, which is a turf race for 3-year-old colts and geldings. Actually, is it 3 year? Yeah, it's just 3-year-olds. If Chad they were struggling to get entries for that race. If they wanted to, they could have gotten this horse nominated, which tells me that this horse is just not very good, in my opinion. Maybe he is better on the dirt, and that's why Chad's deciding to throw him in on the dirt. But I think it's a red flag that you have a grade 3 right after this race for this class level. I know he only has a maiden win, but you gotta think that if this horse had any sort of turf talent, he would be in a stakes race rather than this. I would actually give the other Chad Brown horse a better shot, in my opinion. The 5 Nabokov. Yeah. Warrior Johnny in his last race at Saratoga there freaked. That's another horse that I'm gonna wait for him to come back, because he got above 100 buyer, I believe, in that race. I think it came back 100 buyer. Let's see here. He got a 99 buyer. Sorry,
basically
Warrior Johnny. Yeah, he got a 99 buyer there, and that was the I want to say that was the week before. Yeah, that was the little over a week before Travers. The Travers.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that horse just destroyed this field. This horse took money in that field. He was coming out of the Dwyer, where Charge It just absolutely robbed.
56 lengths. He was close.
Yeah, he was, but they're cutting him. Like, Charge It was Charge It, I think, was just a very good horse. He's just unlucky with injuries. But this horse is cutting, he's cutting back again to 7. There is other speed in here, but I think Irad is back aboard. I think this horse has the ability to stalk. So it wouldn't surprise me if this horse sat a couple lengths off the lead, and if speed doesn't hold, this horse could pick up the pieces. That would be my that's where I would go. But yeah, I mean, outside of the two Chads, I think you're just kind of grasping at straws, hoping that somebody else can beat the Pletcher Expressman.
So that's what we have. We're both single to the 7 in the second leg. You mentioned the Jockey Club Cup there. Do you have a preference? There's also Classic Causeway and Nation's Pride heading up in that race, who raced against each other Whitney weekend, I believe. I think me and you watched that race together, if I remember correctly.
Yep, yep, we did.
Who is your preference today or Saturday?
I'm still on. I am still on Nation's Pride. I do have big interest though in the new European invader coming over. Ardakin, I think is how you pronounce it.
Artican?
Yeah, he was third in a grade 1 last time. The Rebels Romance, who I really like as a horse. He won a grade 2 earlier this year in Italy at 1 3/8 miles. He finished 8th, but only by 2 lengths in a grade 1 in Germany. This horse is definitely can get the distance. They get a jockey to come over. I think this is going to be. I think this horse is going to take a lot of money, kind of as the wise guy horse outside of those two. But I thought the jockey change on Classic Causeway was a big plus though, with Pratt getting them out.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely something to look for. If I had to take somebody way beyond that, it would be the Gray Wizard. Just because I like the name, and 2, this horse is just going to try to close from the clouds. But I don't think he's going to get a super tough pace to close into. So I think it'd be definitely tough for the Gray Wizard. But it's for your late pick 4 and stuff, with it, if you're going to single Expressman, it opens it up to it definitely opens it up for you to be able to use a couple horses there if you're not going to single. So not always the worst thing to have a super heavy favorite that should be a lock on paper running in those late sequences when you get into those stakes races, because then you have more ammo for the tougher competition.
Yeah, and my strategy would actually be to pick one of these if you're going to go either Classic Causeway or Nation's Pride. I always struggle with what to do with these horses, as I just said, that have raced over, this one in Germany and coming in. I missed out on qualifying in the Exact Extravaganza by leaving off a horse that had been running great, I believe, in Argentina, and I made a change at the last second, and it cost me. And the only reason I made the change was that exact thing of like, man, I don't know. I just don't have a good read. And I think part of that is the past performance is basically you just see the finish, and it's hard to get a good sense of how did the race go? What does this horse do other than going back and looking at these replays, which I certainly don't have the time to do that. So in this situation where we kind of had pretty good spread out in that first leg, right, which would be the first leg of the pick 4, I'd be likely to single Expressway, make a decision between, either Classic Causeway or Nation's Pride, single one of them, and then you've got more bullets to go in the last leg, would be what my strategy would be for this. I'd probably lean towards Nation's Pride, although you make a great point with the jockey change. Me and Le Peru, my boy, finally get him out of the way. Maybe that's... Classic Causeway showed some great ability in that 1.25 miles at Belmont on the turf, right? So it's...
Yeah,
you can't laugh at him like we kind of did before.
No, he was a turf, and that was the thing. This horse, I think all Derby prep season, I kept saying I can't wait. I'm betting this horse the first time he gets on turf. I don't care what the spot is. I'm betting him first time he gets on turf, because he was a turf. He was very clearly a turf horse from the beginning, and I got him at 26-1 in the Belmont Derby, and that was a huge hit. So that worked out for me. He's gonna win a few more races. I don't think he was a one-hit wonder on the turf. I think he's definitely gonna win a few more races. He might get one here because there really is no other speed in here.
Yeah.
At all. So
we know that's where he loves to be.
Right, and he got pressed last time, and in the Saratoga Derby, he got pressed a little bit. He was still out on the lead, but he did get pressed a little bit. And Annapolis, who finished second in that race, came back to win. He beat a bad field, but He won walking. So I don't think you can just disregard him. I think definitely the odds make him tough to play him at here, where he's 2-1, and he probably will be every bit of 2-1 here. I can't imagine he drifts up. So especially his loan speed on paper, I think a lot of people are going to see that, and he's gonna take money. But
he'll probably be second to Nation's Pride because of that last race, which is advantageous if you're in the Classic Causeway camp. So that will help a lot.
yep.
Good stuff. So
Yep.
hopefully you'll enjoy Aqueduct or Belmont or whatever the hell they're calling it.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get it in for you. We both have $4 tickets this week. Like me and Vinny have talked about, we like to give out smaller tickets, small bankroll, and hopefully we can keep those standings in the green. Vinny, it's kind of basically up to you because I'll be in the green for a couple of weeks going forward. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, I gotta hope to hit a couple of them. You got that. That was a good one you hit last week at Kentucky Downs. We might have to end up doing some random tracks so I get some price.
I like it. You pick next week. You pick.
Sounds good.
If you end up in the red, then I will. I'll lend you a couple dollars so you can continue playing.
Right. I say as soon as I get in the red, I'm just playing hammer the $20 double. Get me back in the green.
Good stuff. Good luck to everybody out there playing Belmont at Aqueduct this week, and don't forget Churchill Downs is back with night racing as well too. Right.
Yep.
I think we taped this on Thursday. If I believe they started tonight.
Yep, I believe so. I think
So-
Hidden Scroll is supposed to run. I don't know if he won or not already. I haven't looked at results, so I don't know if he ran by the time of recording this. But if he did, if he didn't, let me know how he does.
And don't forget to check out Matt DeSantis' videos on the road to the Breeders' Cup. We will see you back here next weekend on Doubling Down with Colin and Vinny.